Hi guys, I'm Chelsea Coxey. I'm a dream analysis coach, and today I'm working with Olga. I always mess up your last name. I
I
Dinoglu.
didn't know.
I do. I see. I say it like such an American.
Yeah, my name in Zoom is still before marriage, so it's okay.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
Olga.
Olga, the shamanic healing practitioner, and today we're going to work on one of her dreams that she had a couple weeks ago. It's really interesting, and I'm going to give some of my perspective from a Carl Jung concepts in the internal family system, and then Olga probably will expand more with what she knows from like her shamanic side and what her guides are telling her about it.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Yeah, I had this dream, right? Gonna try to say it as short as possible, but also I don't remember all the details. So, the biggest thing was that I kind of like had a revelation that there was this bad man, that there was this somebody really, really bad and evil, and that person somehow got me like a really long time ago. This has been going on for a really long time, and he somehow used to put me to sleep when I didn't even know it, and also took other people and put them to sleep, kind of like drugged us or something, put us to sleep, hypnotize us, I don't know, and did like physical surgeries on us where he would take those people's organs, like vital organs, like the heart, liver, kidney, lungs, and some nervous system too. And he would take their organs and put it inside of me. And none of us would know this. And then I would just live my life. And those people were like dying people. Um, yeah, and I remember they died um, after like I walked around and lived my life with somebody else's heart, let's say, and then that heart within me would not be accepted by my body or something, and would die within me, and that person would die, the person whose heart it was within me, and it would be the same for. And then he would take another person and put another person's heart in my body, and he did it multiple times with different organs inside of me, and they would keep dying. All of those organs would keep dying, and those people would keep dying. And then finally it was such a disgusting thing. So I guess trigger warning. The final thing where I just kind of really became aware of what's happening, I was somehow like in the operation table, but I was watching myself from the side and what he was doing. And he took those people's faces, like the skin of their faces. If you guys have seen the movie Face Off with Jack Nicolas Cage, so like just took their faces with eyeballs and put them on my. He just like stitched them on my back in a circle. All of the faces of the people whose organs were inside of me and died, but somehow he saved their faces and stitched them on my back in a circle. And in the middle of the circle, there's this big red button. Um, it was like a half computer thing and half organic. And those faces were somehow still had the minimum amount of nerve connection to my body and to my own nervous system, just enough for them to know what has happened, what has transpired, and just how painful the whole thing is. They understood that, like, it just felt really like a violation of me and a violation of them. Like everyone has been violated very, very deeply. And those faces were there just for the purpose of like letting them know the whole story and that they lost something like that, you know? And that those people were not only violated, but they were also like lost somehow. They lost, meaning that, you know, they could, whatever it was, like they failed, you know, they were defeated. And And yeah, and then I guess normally I'd be like really scared and maybe wake up. But since I have been healing myself a lot, now I have a different attitude. I was looking for that guy. In the dream, he was like a boss, a business management boss of mine, where I had to just like do what he says. Like he would tell me, okay, we're gonna meet over there. We're gonna do this, like kind of boss colleague and relationship. No, not colleague. What do you call boss worker relationship? So, and then I was trying to get a hold of him. I tried to set up a meeting between us, which wasn't normal. I knew that, but I was trying to lure him in to see him and to kind of expose what he was doing and to tell him, like, look, I know what you've been doing. And I just wanted to like fight back or something, to set things straight. Yeah, that's when I woke up and called you and told you about this freaky dream because I know you like dreams. I thought this is a freaky dream. um, yeah, and then I guess when did that happen that I kind of realized what it was, or even before that? I don't know.
It was before you got sick. Yeah, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, if not.
Oh, maybe. Okay. Yeah, and then like well, in stages, it started coming through. I understood that it was basically like me, like it was, yeah, but I guess I'll just combine it with what I got in the hospital recently because now it just all makes sense together. Um, yeah, so I'm in this hospital because my mom got sick and I was in a couch a lot, like kind of half sleeping, half not, in a kind of trance state because I was so tired. And I was receiving like a lot of visions. Um, and I see this bad man. Like it was just something I knew. This is a bad man. And he looked like Frankenstein, like the cartoonish green Frankenstein. Um, and I never saw his face because he was kind of hiding from me. But he was, there was something white and like snake-like, but very, very kind, hugging him, kind of like telling him that everything's okay. I'm here, um, because I felt like a lot of self-hatred actually in that bad man, and he didn't want to show himself. Um, but there was this white kind of beings that kept, like a feminine being that kept hugging him, and I knew that that was me also because I was like, oh yeah, at first I remember after the dream, I first thought that it feels like an entity, and I was really angry. I was really out to get that entity, as you remember. It's like, oh man, that's so hardcore. That's so bad. And then, and yeah, and then no, it's not an entity. It's like that bad man is me, and he looked like Frankenstein. And yeah, it's so freaky. Like I was seeing Elvis Presley, like really, really clearly, looking at me in a certain angle, and somebody who had like blondish kind of medium length hair next to him. And I thought that was a girl or something because I didn't see their face. And I hear like a background sound of going like the Limp Bizkit version of Behind Blue Eyes. So I was like, oh, I think my guides are telling me to listen to that song. So I turn that song on YouTube and I see the music video. And the first thing that I see is the singer with his shirt off. And there's this tattoo like right here on his chest. And it's just exactly the Elvis Presley, like exactly how I saw Elvis Presley in my visions. And next to him was Kurt Cobain, whose hair was that medium length kind of light hair. And I was like, oh, it's not a girl, it's Scream. And it was like, oh my God, it's like my spirit guides were telling me that listen to the song. Yes, this tattoo is telling you a message that like the song's really important for you to understand what is happening. And the words of that song were just killing me. I think I listened to it at least 50 times after that. Um, just gonna find the lyrics. Yeah, behind blue eyes.
Yeah, the ones that stood out to you the most.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to say like because like the whole thing is really big and gigantic to me. But long story short is that I've been that bad man, and I've been kind of canceling myself out, especially the vital parts of me, which were the organs. And because somehow I villainized myself and I told myself that I'm bad. And parts of me are bad. And the important parts of me are bad, the ones that actually, allow me to live. Um, and I know from many, many lifetimes, since I've been doing shamanic healing, I saw a lot of my past lifetimes. In many lifetimes, I have been killed and tortured publicly, executed for just being me. And it's not always like, oh, because I was a healer or something and witch trials or something. Not always like, not something like that actually. But like in one lifetime, I remember it was being a healer. Yeah. And I was a midwife who was giving people abortions because they asked for it. Like, yeah, I was a person who did abortions like a really long time ago. And then I was executed publicly when I was found out. It was, and actually, in that execution, my feminine organs were ripped out publicly, like for everyone to see how bad it is. And in other lifetimes, I was like a young woman who was very free to express myself sexually or something. Or in other lifetimes, I just spoke whatever I wanted or did whatever I wanted. And it ended up in like me being sometimes just ostracized, kicked out of a village, kicked out of my family, kicked out, and then I had to sometimes in that case, like I died by freezing in winter because I was kicked out of the village. So I just froze to death. So there were like many lifetimes like that. And, I feel like if you've been tortured and killed and ostracized and by enough times with physical pain, there is a time that comes when I just decide, like, you know what? There are so many people that say I'm bad. I probably am, I think I think they're right, you know? And I made my internal decisions where I just go like, I just went and canceled pieces of myself out, ostracized myself, basically, from myself, disconnected from myself, and made certain parts of me die. And instead of them, because I still need those parts, like if like it's a heart that I have canceled out, that is my own, I had to get someone else's heart to function for me. And so the way I realized it was just basically getting other people, okay, those people who said that I am bad and they did something bad to me, well, then I took their beliefs or I took their desires for life and I took something that they said that was okay to strive for in life, to live for in life, and I just put that in myself instead of my own heart. And I said, okay, I guess, my own heart is not good enough for living, so I need to go for other people's desires. And in this lifetime, it looks like this. Like I wanted to be an artist, a writer, and actually like spiritual studies when I was younger. Then my father said, like, no, you can't. He said, you can do that when, on the weekends when you have your free time. but you have to have a real job. So for like until I was 33, actually, I just did what I was told that was a good thing to do, to be. And I got all these I graduated. I have 2 master degrees and a bunch of other certificates of education, and I had proper jobs that were killing me. They were seriously killing me. I was dying, physically dying. And guess where the certificates are right now? They're in a plastic folder under my bed. That's how useful they are. And yeah, at 33, I just kind of started to. That's an example of someone's heart dying. Like that. That's a heart of my father. Let's say I accepted. Okay, my father's values are better than mine, because I have that karmic thing where I accept that other people are more correct than me. So I just put that in, and I lived by my father's heart, with my father's heart inside of me. And then my father's heart died inside of me because I was dying, living a normal life with a real job, earning money, being a proper citizen. But it kind of symbolically died, and I went to another country, married, and started to do my spiritual stuff and doing writing and doing drawing and everything that I actually wanted. So I kind of replaced my father. It wasn't just my father's heart, it was other people too, for many lifetimes. And I put my own, I put my own heart, but I kind of activated my own heart, went like, hey, I think I have a right to live as me. So otherwise I'm actually gonna die. So, and the same thing with the liver and the kidneys and the lungs and whatever. So yeah, that's like an example of us ostracizing. Is that the right word? Ostracizing ourselves.
Yeah.
From ourselves, and disconnecting ourselves from ourselves, and villainizing parts of ourselves, and denying life to ourselves. And yeah, and the dream was saying like, hey dude, you're Frankenstein. You have created yourself from parts of other people, and they all died within you because they're not your parts. And also I feel like those parts were not just like, why those people? Because I felt like they also had some problems. For example, like they wanted to do something in their life, yeah, like my father, for example, but couldn't, and kind of vicariously lived through me. Like, okay, I want you to do this with your life because I think it's good, and I wish I did this, what you did. So yeah, in my dream, I felt like those people who died because their hearts inside of me died. They were really, they were really upset because it's like I was given a job to take care of their hearts, and I just killed them inside of me. And it's like, yeah, I let them down. And by the way, you know what? My father passed away actually 3 years ago, when I was completely doing this thing, with my spiritual stuff, shamanic stuff, and everything, art, writing, and actually he died because of heart problems. I just realized it right now.
Oh my gosh.
This is very weird.
That's why I like the space.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good stuff. And I like how you're already like able to psychoanalyze it and like relate to it. Cause I think a lot of people would be like freaked out by that and not even know, like, begin to where to understand it. So I love that you really have kind of already figured it out a little bit. And there's so much symbolism going on. And it's funny how the subconsciousness does that to us. Especially when it's an internal part and it wants attention, it comes out very strong, sometimes ugly, or very just way out there in left field visually, to where it catches our attention and we're like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, and I can see my spirit guides like all over it because they really pointed me in that direction of the guy's tattoo, the singer of Limp Bizkit on his chest. When I saw that, I just had like pins and needles everywhere, and I was like, okay, guys, I really see this as. Sometimes I tend to go and think, oh no, maybe I imagined it. Whatever, I'm tired. I'm in the hospital. Whatever. But this time they were like, no, this, you need to pay attention to this. Like, we are so serious. Like, you really need to watch this.
It's like past lives healing, something that's very deeply embedded into you. And even if you don't necessarily notice it now in today's, like I mean, you notice it, but maybe not on the depthness of how it was all connected to the past lives. Mm-hmm. Now you do, but obviously going through most of your life, you obviously were Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Which we all are, really, in a way. So this is a good example.
Yeah, a lot of us are really like enmeshed with other people. We have canceled ourselves out, decided that this part of me is not good enough to live, to exist, to speak, to breathe. I had breathing problems before, and with a lot of shamanic healing, I realized the ways in which I was actually not allowing myself to breathe. Like, you don't have the right to breathe. You don't have the right to consume things, even oxygen, stuff like that.
Okay, welcome back. We did a little quick break. Okay, so I'm going to start out with first explaining what I do with the internal family system and how that works with our conscious aspects and our subconscious aspects. And then we'll dive into how it applies to like the symbolism of the organs and the evil mad scientist, right? And the neglected aspects of yourself. Okay, so with the internal family system, it's like a very Jungian base where we psychoanalyze ourselves into different parts. And some people can have a lot more parts than what would be like the baseline. So like what I consider baseline that everyone has would be your feminine and your masculine, your higher self or your intuition, and your inner child, right? And we all organically have those. But throughout life and through trauma and belief systems, we can manifest other parts that are inauthentic to ourselves, as well as take the ones we have currently and try to rewire them to be something they're not, which would be not authentic to us, right? And that usually could happen through just even, people in our family, like a parent telling you, don't be this way, be that way, and trying to retrain an internal aspect of yourself. So something I like to say is when we have an internal family system within ourselves, we also experience it as a mass collective too, and a society. So that's why I say we tend to have issues with the ego being the manager of the internal family system usually, which would make sense even as society. We kind of egotistically live a lot of the time. So I always refer to society as an ecosystem because of that. And our egos are just trying to exist in an ecosystem that is ran that way. So it can cause a lot of like imbalances within ourselves. So with the mad scientist, he is definitely parts of your ego, and it may not be like a surface level ego, because I know you've been doing a lot of healing and it may not be so obvious to be a part of it, but I feel like there's still something in that, because he said he was managing and kind of redirecting and trying to make it, but he was feeling bad about it too. And you were telling it was okay. I think it's because you have a lot of past lives that were coming up. And this all kind of comes into play too. So it's the idea that you were taking a lot of this stuff, and the ego can exile aspects of ourselves into the depths of our subconsciousness. And you might only see bits and pieces of this come out, if it's triggered, or if, say, your ego relaxes, sometimes other parts can try to come up and take the platform. But I thought it was interesting that it was like this mad scientist manager who was taking other belief systems or parts that were inauthentic to you and putting it on your back so you couldn't necessarily see it, but it was still there, right? Kind of like the subconsciousness. That's why it's always important to like do the subconscious diving, is what I refer to it as. Sorry, I got a little sloppy with my notes. Ego system of society. Oh, I already said that. Ego will even exile parts of ourselves into the depths of the subconsciousness. Past lives are hidden deeply, and the ego might even be aware of it, but it will ignore it. So I think that's what I was seeing with it being on your back. And the organs are a vital aspect. So I thought it was interesting that it represented your internal family system as organs, because it's something that still exists. But I've also noticed that like we don't see our organs physically, right? We know they're there, but we don't like see them on a daily basis, right? And that's kind of reminded me of the exiled aspects, maybe of your past lives, some internal parts of yourself too. So maybe that it was they kind of I thought the symbolism reminded me of that a little bit, because it's like, okay, it's an organ, it's there, but no one can see it. And it also could represent like belief systems, living inauthentically, having like even generational things, right, that kind of come into play too. Sorry, I'm just like getting a little ADHD with this. It goes fast. I could get like way more into.
Yeah, you're like really fast. I'm just trying to catch up.
Sorry, my brain goes fast. And it doesn't help that I wrote it all down during the break.
That's how you speak. It's okay. I'm just listening and catching up.
So I think the organs are your hidden aspects or even hidden belief systems that are inauthentic or even authentic, but there's a lot going on there. So the idea that you were taking like the heart from somebody else, like you're using your father as an example, like that would make sense. And like with the red button basically is, which is funny because I've had the red button pop up before in other people, and it's always like push the red button. So, and the way you described it on our break was the way it would like eject all of this off of you, and you could just have yourself. So it's the idea of like pushing the red button would be you allowing yourself to be authentically yourself through all of that.
Actually, like there was some like it was computer. It was so weird because it was a partly computer. What do you call it? Like AI, artificial intelligence, like partly a computer, but partly organic. And then I just knew that the name of this thing, the red button, was called motherboard. Like in the computer, the motherboard, the one that I guess makes decisions. But yeah, I knew that if I push that button, they're all gonna be gone.
Yeah. So yeah, and I put down here, what did I say exactly? I said, organs are vital, just like our hidden parts. When they are buried into the subconsciousness, they might as well be an unseen functioning organ in bad shape. Something that, so like some of them could still be parts of yourself that's trying to heal, but like you can eject everything off of you that doesn't belong to you, but then you got to go through and take what's damaged that is authentic to yourself and try to heal it and transmute it or transcend it into something healthy. So like you exiling parts of yourself, or shaming or disconnecting, even from the mad scientist. I think it would be, what I normally say is people have to like work with their ego first. And so their ego can allow the hidden parts of our subconsciousness to come to the surface and hold their space as well as part of our identity. So it's like the ego tries to maintain how we identify ourselves and how we're seen through other people's eyes even. So that's why it's always the manager. And it sometimes gets a little crazy with its job role.
Like business manager. Yeah, he was my business boss, like business manager boss.
And yeah, and you were seeing it from like an out of body experience. At one point you were saying that you were off to the side watching it happen. And you were probably watching it from your main self. Because like, as I always say, we have our internal family system. If you can picture it like a circle, you have all of your identities kind of right there, right? But then you would be the main self in the middle, or even the soul. So I thought that was interesting that you were witnessing it happen to yourself. Which is
I knew
like,
I wasn't supposed to, but also I knew I'm supposed to. It's like opposites, but they're true. Like,
yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're all a Frankenstein walking around in our own way. And it's just kind of like having that self-realization that, yeah, we're bringing on what other people's belief systems, taking on shame, trying to redirect it in something that's still not authentic. And now how that would apply in your daytime could mean a lot of things, right? But I do understand like why spiritualists, I didn't say that you have to kill the ego. Now, I'm not a fan of killing the ego per se, because it's still a part of the system, but I do believe it needs to relax and coexist with the entire system. It cannot be in control all the time. And that's something I've personally been working on, that I've noticed even in my dreams, that my soul has been coming forth a lot more in symbolic messages. And it's basically, and even in meditation or in thoughtfulness, like it wants my ego to relax. And instead of my main self sitting in the ego phase, it wants it to jump over and sit in the soul chair, basically, and let the soul be kind of the manager of the internal parts instead of the ego being the manager. So that's kind of how I see like the whole, like the term killing of the ego. It's letting the ego release the manager position and letting the soul or the main self have the manager position. And then everything else would be more balanced within itself. So like the ego is a control freak a little bit, but
Yeah,
it's trying to do it with good intention because it doesn't want us to be hurt anymore or to re-experience what we've been through. So it's not always the best manager, but it does have good intentions. That's why a lot of times I've realized in dream analysis, I tend to work with egos a lot, especially when we're in the beginning phases and trying to explore the rest of who we are on a deep level.
Yeah, and in shamanism, like from what I learned from my teachers, like we never learn something like kill the ego or we generally try not to kill any part of ourselves because they are all us. If it's not about like canceling yourself out or canceling your desires or something, just sit there and observe life. And I'm referring to, I guess, like tactic, the teachings of India, like from Hinduism, and like that's their teaching, and it works for somebody, like for a specific kind of person, like a specific kind of soul, I would say that would go like that. Kind of almost like it's in its nature to do this, to reach this kind of thing. But from what I learned from European shamanism, from my teachers, we're respecting all parts of ourselves, and we are helping ourselves to live your life and be happy. You today, right now, in the physical body that you find yourself in, like you be happy. We're not trying to disqualify anybody or kill anything. Like being happy is fine. Like, just thriving is a fantastic thing. And like we don't kill egos or something.
And I love that. Yeah. Because I know that's more of a mainstream, I think, a little bit with the killing of the ego. And I'm like, no, the ego has a beautiful role, especially when it's relaxed and it can just simply play its role without interfering with all the other roles. I always say it's a really good internal compass on the self-identity. It really knows the fullness of who we are in its own way. So it will hide parts of ourselves. It will allow some of it to come out. But I've even noticed, like with myself, that like the ego currently it's holding fear. And when my soul keeps trying to come through, I know we've worked on it and we describe my soul as like water. So I feel like it's coming through like a big gush of water or a wave of water. My ego is like, hold up just a little bit. Don't let it all out at once. This is crazy, And like, it's funny, but it's when we view ourselves on that, like in those parts, it's easier to see where some of the fear and the pain is coming from, and like to be able to like pinpoint it better, and then see how having relationships within ourselves, because like some people will even have aspects of themselves that don't get along. That's why you'll be like the bad guy or neglecting parts of yourself intentionally, like say if you wanted to be an artist and do all the creative stuff and the healing, but you were like, no, I can't do that. I have to go get a real job and be, a member of an ecosystem who pays taxes and has a good job and all of this. But like deep down, you didn't want to do that. So that'd be like an internal conflict. And like the ego will get, I have to say the ego tends to win if we, especially in society today, because like at the end of the day, it's a fear-based decision for the ego to maintain structure of whatever it thinks it should be. So when we tend to live more holistically, we tend to live more soulfully, and the ego will relax. So it's like kind of comes in transitions or phases. And like you're already doing a lot of this stuff. So I feel like there's probably, since you brought up the past lives, I think that's probably where you're seeing this dream come from. It's not just something that's from this life, but it's a pattern that kept repeating and wanted to be acknowledged. So, and what that would be, only you would really know. Or you could only guess and put it in like the
you're right about the pattern. Yeah. And even though I've been healing for like years and working on this for years, I am still in the process of, I mean, there's no way that I'm going to claim, oh, I'm all healed, you know. No. But it gets to be more and more interesting because it goes down deeper and deeper layers. First, it was like the top layers, and the deeper it goes, the less fear I experience seeing those things within me and less judgment I have of myself. Because, yeah, and those are the higher levels. Like, hey, self-judgment, let's, heal that stuff relevant to self-judgment and heal our ability to experience compassion for yourself when you see something in yourself that's scary like that. So after you have done that, the deeper it goes, I would say the more exciting it gets, seriously.
It does. It's very beautiful to see it go full circle like that. So what do you think for you and the Frankenstein scenario? What do you think you're currently, what is inauthentic within yourself that it would be referring to? Because it came in strong, so it seems like it was an important dream that wants your attention.
Well, now that you ask, I'm just like, I guess like I'm quite aware of some things that I have adapted as my own instead of my own, like the heart. And for me, heart symbolizes desire, what I want in life. So I was going for everything my father said I should want. So that didn't work out. But now that I know that there are more faith, like I just kind of got clarity on two organs, the lungs and the heart. And they're kind of symbolized by my mom and my father in this life, actually. But now I guess the information came through to tell me, like, look, there are way more, and you're not really seeing the rest of them. Why don't you go and explore the other organs and start fixing yourself and letting go of all the other, like, I don't know, like kidneys, what do? You pee
they
for
filter. But they filter. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to figure out, like, hey, kidneys, like, how are my kidneys not mine? That's gonna take some meditation to figure out. Also, I just saw like clearly liver, and the nervous system, even like that's an organ, right? Like the actual nervous system was not mine as well. Yeah. And I can tell you right now intuitively, like growing up as a Russian person, we really value calm people, like not emotional. So probably something that has to do with suppressing emotions. Like we really value and respect people who can control their emotions, who would take anything with a straight face like this and go like, okay, got it. I can figure this kind of.
Yeah. Like emotional regulation, but maybe you're way more emotional and it's okay to express it. I like how you're in the symbolism of the organs. It's like the internal family system, but it's also representing like your belief systems and things that you've picked up through your experiences throughout life. And like you're giving it an emotional meaning to you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, I remember like in the beginning of my healing like adventure with shamanism, I remember I took on a project which I stopped because it was so hard. It wasn't going anywhere. I was like, oh, I'm going to get back to it later. But I saw myself as an invisible person. Once again, the same, like I just made myself invisible. I don't exist. And then I started healing kind of enough of myself to start seeing myself. And I remember it came to me that it's going to come by organ by organ. And the only organ I could partly heal was my skin, like my non-physical skin. I started to see my skin a little bit. And I forgot what the skin meant to me at that time. I just kind of let it go. But yeah, maybe I should go and back to myself and continue that project where I heal myself as body parts. But I just want to show you actually this thing.
I think you could have a really cool art project with it, or where you dissect it and share with other people to relate to how they
project because you the picture, or you said it because
I was gonna say it first and then you pulled it out. I'm like, oh, yeah,
yeah. Actually, like when I see myself psychically, I talk to parts of myself, like souls that are me, my internal souls, my internal soul structure, and like I often see myself like this, like different parts of me. And the Frankenstein guy, like they were either it's very blurred or there are no eyes, but at that time I was hugging him like that, so I couldn't see his eyes. And I knew why, like because he's like so ashamed of himself and embarrassed that he's been doing this to himself, like he can't look me in the eyes.
Yeah.
And I can look him in the eyes, and I was just sitting there and telling him, it's okay, I know what you've been doing, I am you, I accept you. I realized like it takes two to tango, like I've been in there. So come on, show me your eyes, and he still didn't. And a lot of parts of me like look like that because I just went like, I have no identity. I have to put on a kind of uniform that looks like everybody else just so I can stay safe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, seeing your past lives have sound very gruesome and deathly. So the whole I understand why you want to be safe or blend in, the chameleon act a little bit, like not stand out too much.
Yeah, because the executions, they were, pretty. I don't want them.
No, the one with the abortion and having your organs pulled out for that was so messed up.
No, and yeah, I was a lady who was like a midwife, old lady, and people were coming to me like to give birth, but sometimes people would come to me and would beg me to help to abort the baby because they had their reasons, like, and back then, quite rarely it was because they can't feed the child or something. That was not the problem. The problem was mostly like they cheated or something.
Shame and fear. Yeah. They're trying to cover up their stuff when asking you for help.
For them, it was actually like life-saving, because if they were to get, to show that they're pregnant, they would be kicked out, or, they would, publicly shamed and all that stuff. And what of the rest of their kids that they already have? So I was the person that understood that. And I was like, yeah, I understand. And I did it with herbs and some physical stuff. I actually remember how I did it. And, but I was also talking to the souls of the herbs. So it was a kind of, I guess, a shamanic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And if somebody would try to do what I did, but them, it wouldn't work, because I was actually talking to the herbs and to earth and to other beings to help with the process, because it wasn't like a mechanical process. And then one day, one of the girls who was in the middle of the process got scared and ran away into the field. And I tried to, and then she was bleeding, and I tried to save her in the field. And we got caught by her father, who happened to be kind of like the boss of the village or something. Not the boss, but like the owner of the land.
Yeah.
So then there was a public execution, and they ripped my feminine organs out. And when I was a teenager, like a really, really young teenager, I remember imagining that I had a knife and I used to stab myself with imagination.
Yeah.
not with the real. I used to try to like stab myself in there, and I used to wish that I could rip everything out, like as a teenager, and I had no idea why I did that. But then when I was doing my past life studies of myself, I realized that, oh, they have been ripped out. And apparently I agree that they should stay out because I
Yeah.
don't want to experience that pain again. So, yeah, like it's not just past life stuff, it literally comes up in our lives so physically. Uh, yeah.
So
Inseparable.
yeah, and I just wrote down taking on people's problems. Basically, you were back in that phase. You were taking on people's problems that they had, and you were trying to help, which made it your problem.
Yeah, like taking on other people's stuff too. Man, we are really big messes walking around of like all kinds of stuff. The cleaning up is long, but
You're like,
the
I need a mop on aisle 12.
yeah.
Yeah. But it's beautiful when we start doing the work, and like we always, like that's why I say healing is a circle or a spiral. And I know we did the workshop with the circle, and I always say not just the healing was it, but the learning and the expression of it. But like it really is a circle. Like you're just kind of getting into deeper layers of it. So I think it's really beautiful. Like every time we conclude a circle, it's just the aha moments, the beauty and clarity and all of that. And it's
Oh, you just said the
and the
aha
self
moment.
identity.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like you said, we get these realizations, right? And in my life, like all my life, I've been actually having a lot of internal dialogue, a lot of realizations, which I never shared with anyone, because I decided that I should live only a little bit and not 100%.
Like the whole
So,
wave of existence.
yeah, but it was always my dream to actually share these things. And as you know, I have a big problem speaking. And there's this entity, right? I gotta show you this picture too. Who, when I was working on like my speaking problems with my voice, this dude, I like to paint what I see, right? Um,
Oh, cool.
his name is Johnson, the Water Twig Man.
That's so cool.
So
Okay.
he's, I just gotta like, this is again like about making parts of us die and not live. So he's like made of twigs, and he has hair. And he showed up to me and was teaching about like my communication problems and stuff. And he was showing, like, long story short, these twigs are like, I saw my, if I'm a tree, let's say, and I decided that one of my branches shouldn't be alive, you know, because so I kind of stopped giving water to it or nutrients, and that branch becomes a twig. And sometimes I saw it as it like falls down, but it's not completely dead. It's just like deactivated or something.
Yeah.
And but this twig like has a lot of things to say of its life. Kind of like when we breathe in and we breathe out. So we breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. It's a natural thing that we do. And I feel like the breathing in, like of that twig or a part of ourselves, is we take in life experiences and we breathe out realizations and wisdom and stories, whatever it is, like realization, aha moments, like you said.
Yeah.
And this is the juice, I think, of life. And those twigs are kind of like, they're still kind of breathing, you know, they still want to speak. But I decided that they're not going to speak. They need to be quiet. So as a twig, this guy collects my twigs and other people's twigs with similar problems, right? He collects them, somehow connects them, unites them, and he has this long hair. And he listens to all the whispers because they're not allowed to speak. So he listens to all the whispers, right? And all the whispers go up his hair. And he has really long hair. And that hair is submerged into all the waters of the world. And actually, I heard it in my mind, it was the seven seas, the seven seas or the seven wells of life. The seven waters of life. And you can see each water is slightly different color because it's a different water of life. And the land has different kind of terrain because it's different. And all the hairs go down the different waters. And I saw that all his hair follicles go to like deeply everywhere, to the seas, to the rivers, to the springs, down to our water pipes in our houses. When we wash our faces or something, that information, he sends all of the whispers we didn't speak, that all of the stuff we want to say but we didn't, he kind of sends it down the water. And when, let's say, people wash their faces with water at home, some of that information, and he's the one who kind of controls it in the right way, some of the information goes into kind of like as if I told them personally that information, but it was a whisper. So it comes through water. Like if they wash their face, that information would come to them. He's a kind of middleman who keeps my twigs safe and still speaking in a different way until I reclaim my twigs. And he will not force you to like not take them back. He's just safekeeping them for you until you realize that you want it back. And then I would take back that twig, put it back on my tree, and send the water flow and the nutrients, and that tree that part of my tree would be alive and speaking with actual voice. But before I can use my actual voice, this guy has my back, so to speak.
I think that's beautiful. I want a copy of that someday. You have to make a copy for me. That makes sense.
He's going to be one of the stories actually in my second book, Tales of the Spirit and the Divine. There's going to be a story about him, one of the short stories. So if anyone is interested, check out my book.
Yeah, I need to get a copy of your first one still. Maybe use them as bedtime stories for the kids. Okay, so it sounds like each organ, we'll just refer to it as organs at this point instead of like parts, but each one is going to have something like that for you. And you could almost write a whole like series on just your body symbolically and the healing journey of that, finding your voice with it. Because I feel like and I'm sure you'll tell me about it here in the next couple of weeks when you're meditating and having the aha moments.
Yeah, like what are the kidneys, man?
Yeah, like focus on each one independently or separately. And yeah, because right now it's belief systems, identity, passion, voice activation, taking on people's problems. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm sure there's a lot more than that. And we always go in full circle on those too. So it's like, we'll figure it out and have this clarity on it. And then it keeps going more in-depthly, which is why I love it, because it's just gorgeous. That's the best I could say. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Do you want to share anything else? That's all I've got, really. I think it's beautiful. And I think this dream, I hope it's helpful for other people. And I think it's very self-relatable to where anyone listening could really take the time to be like, okay, what about me? And not just as an internal family system, but you could even view it as your chakras. You could view it as your organs, right? Because you got the throat chakra and the heart chakra and the solar plexus. And then even just taking on other people's belief systems or something that's damaged your authenticity or hit it.
Yeah, and to anyone listening to this and working on themselves in this way, I would say that just it really helps to have compassion for yourself and release the judgments, um, because it's much harder if we're blocking things from seeing in ourselves like this, right? Sometimes we are unaware of a lot of stuff. Why? Because we know that we're going to judge ourselves and we're going to be disappointed in ourselves and we're going to start like punishing ourselves or something. It really helps to just be kind of like be okay with the process, be okay that it takes some time, be okay with seeing some scary stuff and seeing yourself in a not a pretty way, but it all like just the self-compassion and forgiveness, and release the judgments. It's okay.
Yeah. Trusting the process,
Mm-hmm.
embracing. Yeah, because it is a process. And I feel like a lot of times we might even be embarrassed to see it within ourselves. And I don't know. I always approach things with curiosity. And I think for me, that's been my main thing. If I could have a definition, I'm a very curious person. And I don't think curiosity necessarily kills the cat. I think we just tell ourselves that.
No, the curiosity allows the cat to run around and have many adventures. Yeah. So like issues of embarrassment. And that's why actually I really love to share this kind of stuff, because I think if we allow, we share this and, oh, look, all this dark stuff within me, but I'm not embarrassed to share it. I'm not embarrassed that, this part of it is healed and part of it is not. I don't claim to be like a saint who's, healed or something. Like it's okay to be in the process. So I think that's one of the biggest messages I ever want to send.
I love it. I think this was really interesting, and I'm hoping people are definitely going to like follow through listening to it and be able to self-apply, because I mean, it's nice to hold the space. Like I know with my space, I do the dream analysis and it gets very interesting. But then with your space, it definitely gets into like the soul discovery very heavily. And that's why I like working with you or collaborating with you, because I feel like it goes hand in hand and it really does make that spiral effect. And and you're really great at understanding symbolism. So like a lot of people might get intimidated to understand their symbolic expressions, but like there's a reason Carl Jung was really obsessed with shamanism too. It really goes hand in hand. It was just bringing it more into the psychology lane, but it was very mystic at the same time. So like it's always fun working with you, because like I think you understand your symbolism like really well. So I don't know, I didn't add too much probably, but maybe just a different.
No, I love how you added all the things you said, because another thing I really enjoy is that I often see a lot of kind of fighting and disagreements happening like online and places, that I am of this school of thought and then I am of this school of thought, like Jungian psychology and shamanism, and like somehow I see a lot of fighting actually, and I love to kind of see the similarities rather than the opposite word. So I even forgot that word.
No, you're fine. I was like, you're very good at it. Like you could be using dream analysis in your workshop or your space if you wanted to, really, because it's very organic. Just because we understand the baseline of it. And I think that's what intimidates people too, diving into their dreams or even their soul. Because something I've noticed working with your space is that the soul also speaks in symbolism, and so does the subconsciousness. So it really goes hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love like being the middleman between many kind of schools of thought, because instead of kind of fighting, we can just let go of all the semantics or whatever, and we just dig into the the real juice of it. And it doesn't
Yes.
matter if we have different words for stuff. Really doesn't matter. So
No.
yeah, thank you, Chelsey. I enjoyed
Oh,
this a lot.
thank you. I'm excited. This was fun. And I know we've got like a minute left, so we could
Mhm.
say bye. If anyone's interested in dream analysis sessions, I'll leave a link in the bottom of the YouTube video. And I'm sure Olga will leave a link for her sessions too. So if you're looking for soul and self discovery and really just digging deep into stuff, we're your girls.
Yeah, and if you like some shamanic healing sessions, look me up. And for dream analysis sessions, look Chelsey up. And love yourself, guys.
Hey. All right. Bye.
Bye bye.